mean, especially now since they've cancelled the new blade that they were gonna make. Apparently. We are live,
Yes, we are.
broadcasting from Bill's basement.
That's right. My 50,000 square foot underground stadium.
I've been watching quite a lot of NFL actually. I'm starting to get into it.
Seriously?
Yeah, but I'm not watching it live. I can't watch. I mean, I can watch games that go on for a whole day. I mean, I'm watching cricket for God's sake, yeah. But I think 3 hours is too much. But I do enjoy the highlights.
I used to try to get into it because, I mean, it's a social thing over here, like you could probably imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean, like soccer is over here. You know, if you want to start if you want to start a conversation,
He sure did.
yeah. If you want to start a conversation in the UK, there's two things you talk about. You either talk about the weather and how crap it is, because it's always crap weather, or you
Right.
start talking about the football. Oh, Wolves aren't doing well this time round. Like, oh no, but City are going to do this. Oh no, you blah 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 blah.
I notice people's blue collar accents get cranked up when they start talking about the football over there. Oh, right, you are.
Hey, Bill, you're a little hot.
Am I a little hot?
No, I'm just looking at your face.
Oh,
Yeah.
But you are also a little loud.
so I messed around with the ALSA settings for the Scarlet, and
decided to crank it up to 11.
well, the Gen 4 devices, they record on 4 channels. You're 2 front and 2 rear, but the way they've got it routed,
2 in the rear, Bill?
yeah. Hey,
Hey.
if you're gonna do it,
You
if you're
just
gonna
make it happen, Captain. Just make it happen.
But the way they
Yeah,
got it routed,
I didn't think we were going to be talking double dipping here, but here we go.
hey,
Here we go.
and we're gonna get it done all at once too. I ain't got a heck of a lot of time.
Is it breezy in the UK as well?
It's freezing, is what it
Oh,
is.
I'm feeling very tight-chested, man. Lots of wind, lots of pollen.
I mean, it's just dark. I mean, it's 6:30 in the evening here, and it's pitch black now.
It's been
Sunset was
super
at 4
dreary.
o'clock.
Super dreary here, and that kind of weather puts me out.
I really do believe that most of the UK's population have some kind of seasonal affective disorder because everybody gets depressed in the winter. Do you know what I mean? It's just you go to work, it's dark. You come back, it's dark. You know, you don't see the sun for months. It's raining and dreary and cold and.
I think there's just some places people shouldn't live. You go further north, you get up on the Arctic Circle, and they've got a real problem with alcoholism and suicide rates and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all because of the Coriolis causing like months of daylight and then months of darkness, and you can't.
Yeah, this is why there's a the premier destination for people who want to emigrate out of the UK is Australia. Nice, warm, still English.
I feel like people in the UK would be ill prepared for a place like Australia, because
Oh no, they seem to enjoy it. People who go don't ever seem to come back.
well, that's because
that's-
everything there is trying to kill you. So
No, it's just because they're going to prison. Come on.
history lesson, folks. That's the reason why there's white people there.
Yeah, it was a penal colony,
Yeah.
and in fact, that's why.
And you said we weren't double dipping, all right? Come on.
Penal. Colony.
That's what she said as well.
You said penal.
Oh, come for the Linux, leave for the jokes.
Yeah,
Or because of them, one or the
Yeah,
other.
because of
I was 100% serious, Bill.
And interestingly, apparently, in the Australians call British people POMs, prisoners of His Majesty. So even now, people talk about limey POMs because it's in the lexicon now.
I
to refer to people.
I think I've heard that before, but that was one of those things I just kind of dismissed it because I didn't understand it and didn't have time.
My assumption would be that it's green-colored palm trees, limey palms, right? Like, go to Florida, see all the limey palms. They're
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful.
All right,
Okay.
give me 1 second.
Time's up.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to make that joke. Normally,
That's
Moss
me.
would make that joke.
Every time. Every time. I don't know. Those are conversations where no one's gonna move the needle on either person.
No.
So
True.
are they
There's no
really
point.
worth having?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's like some people just have pre-existing beliefs, which whatever you say, they're never going to change. So all that's going to happen is that both of your blood pressures are going to go up, and you'll end up in a fight. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I just don't like having those conversations in public.
So
Like for someone close, I mean, you guys, I'll have that conversation with, but yeah, no, I don't want random ass DMs talking about any of that stuff at all. Like, I think about that stuff enough.
Yeah, because I mean, like for example, there's a friend of mine who we have, shall we say, very different views on religion. Just put it like that.
Oh, it's the same
And-
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've now come to the conclusion that we just don't talk religion. We talk anything else, right? And we, then it's fine. But the minute we get into religion, it goes wrong.
Yeah.
And so so neither of us talk about it. And it took a long time to get to that stage, actually. It took a while to get to that psychological maturity of, okay, we're not going to agree on this, so let's not even talk about it.
Yeah.
Why ruin the rest of the friendship?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the conversations really go that way for me. I don't let them get that way. I'll stop them before it gets to that point. But still, I think going into a conversation like that, you have to have a healthy and open mind with the discussion. Like, if you can have the discussion, but you have to have an open mind on the side, because otherwise,
Or simply just don't care about whether or not the other person is going to agree with you.
right. But
You know,
that's setting ground rules, and then you're both standing at podiums at that point. Like, you're not convincing each other. You're convincing the people that are sitting around listening or whatever.
yeah. All right, well, I think we can get started. I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1. I'm going to start recording. Oh, Audacity. Shit.
Oh yeah.
Bill's favorite app.
It's been fine lately, which I hate. I mean, I've said it more than once, and I'm
What are you
quite
going to
sure
talk
that
about now if you can't complain about
I know, right?
Audacity?
That's half the
Well,
content
I'm
right
just
there.
thinking I'm bringing down the universe on myself by talking good about it, because they could just as easily pass another update that just
Balks it.
sends it right through the
Stop
floor again.
taking updates, dude. Stop. Like, it works. Like, I mean,
content.
dude, the Audacity version that I'm using to edit Linux user space with, and it's a minimal edit, but the point is, it's 3.3.3.
Thank you.
I don't know what the current version of Audacity is, and I don't care, because my plugins work on this version, and that's it. The end. I don't need to change it. It doesn't need to change. It doesn't ask me to update. I don't know if it's doing the what do you call that? The telemetry, whatever. I don't care. I don't care at all.
I feel like the flat pack's got that taken out because it's also got the
Oh, right. It is.
it's also got the uploading to audio.com taken out.
Yeah. So pin it. Like, pin that version in Flatpak. Ooh, fancy audio. Is that? Oh,
No,
that's
it's-
USB.
It's USB 3. It's a 16X card.
Good God, why? How many
'Cause-
USBs do you have?
The machine I'm building for the truck shows, I need to be able to plug.
Oh.
I need to be able to plug. I got 2 of these. They were $70 a piece.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about this on Mincast, weren't you?
Yeah,
About-
we'll bring it
yeah.
up on the show here because I've got questions for you and your build too. Okay. Everybody got
Audacity?
Audacity? Let me do a quick check here. Audio. Yeah, that's working. All right. You want to handle it, Leo?
Sure. Audacity in 3, 2, 1, record. How many, Bill? Are we doing 40 seconds of silence this time? Just keep scrolling.
That's enough.
58 seconds of silence.
Audio. Check. Yep. Okay.
And now we're doing a 3, 2, 1.
Check it to check the mic.
No, I'm just going to line it up with the Audacity or the OBS recording. Because it drifts anyway. Mine does. Leo's does not because he's hardware recording, which I need to get on that bandwagon.
Just record in OBS. Just record your channel separately. Surely there's a way to do that.
Video Ninja has I can record my own, but it doesn't have an option to record you guys yet. That's what I want. I
Discord
want it
and
straight.
Craig. Discord and Craig.
If they didn't do so much doggone processing and compression, and it sounds really heavily compressed and dealt with, I do it on Mintcast because
You have to.
I'm sick of it.
What do you mean?
Oh,
That's the job.
It just gets. There's been times I don't know, Majid, what do you think? It's taken 45 minutes to get started,
Yeah.
And then people have problems with Audacity and stuff, so it's best.
Yeah, it's normally one person who has problems. Really, always. Sometimes it's me.
You're right. It's one person, and I've literally been asked, why do I put up with it? And it's like, these people come in and out of your life at such a rapid rate, it's not really worth getting upset and making them go away. So anyway,
Cold open time?
Like the politics talk, huh?
yeah.
Do you like them enough to overlook?
This is all getting deleted out anyway. So.
Yeah, there we go.
Apparently I do like them enough. I don't know. Got a soft spot, I guess. Linux OTC. Welcome to episode 40. We're your hosts. I'm Bill.
I'm Majid.
And I'm Leo. 40, huh?
I was just getting ready to say, I'm an optimistic person, but I'm not sure if a year ago I would have imagined we'd get this far. Honestly.
Yeah. 40 seems like a lot. 40 seems like more than we've done.
It
means about a year and a half, probably, isn't it?
Well,
Probably
gotta be
18 months or so.
It started
Every
with
2
a
weeks?
slightly different crew in the beginning, and it's kind of evolved. Or I don't know, maybe not evolved, but it's changed just because people, they come and go,
Well, you have different dynamics between different people, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and so, but that's all part of the rich tapestry of life, allegedly.
And I'm thankful for that diversity, because you get enough crusty white guys talking about Linux in the world, not just the United States.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that Majid and I are DEI hires?
Actually, I wasn't including you in that,
do
Leo.
you see
but
the
now that
pause?
you mention it,
There was a pause.
I put
There
Leo
was a
in
thing
it.
of, there was a pause of, oh shit, what have I just said?
No, it just occurred to me that maybe Leo's not just typical white guy. There might be another dimension to him.
Turns out.
Yeah,
The lights might give you a different impression, but yeah, turns out.
Both of my older sons kind of look sort of like you do, except the one's got a lot more gray hair. So I'm used to seeing it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I
You'll
mean,
get
that's a
no
whole
sympathy out of me.
strip, man. Like,
Mm-mm-mm.
it's coming out.
I'm waiting. I mean, I've got a few white hairs in my beard, but not many. And I'm actually waiting for it to happen because, I want to have that kind of George Clooney speckled look. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Salt and pepper.
Well, Majid, you
of thing.
take good care of your hair. You go get the Turkish thing done and all that. I'm
Oh,
so
yeah,
jealous. I'm not sure if we have anything like that around here. I can't imagine.
Oh, I do love it. I mean, it's the closest I think men will get to a facial. Do you know what I mean? You go there,
Which I
the guy
have done
spends,
that.
yeah, the guy spends like 45 minutes, getting your beard just right and your hair just right, and then
You know
does all
that
the
you
stuff.
can just go for a facial, right? Like,
Yeah, I know, but it's this. I don't know. This is. I think also because of the. So the barbers that I go to is opposite the gym that I go to.
yeah.
So I kind of make it a little bit of a trip, go to the gym, have a nice workout, then go there, freshen up. It all, it's part of the package, isn't it? It's a part of divorcing yourself from the catastrophe of life for about 2 hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as I've been learning on this mental health first aid course that I'm doing at the minute, self-care is not selfishness.
It's necessary, I think. When you have people that depend on you, you've got to
Yeah.
look after yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be, perhaps not be able to
Exactly.
be there
And
for
then,
them.
I mean, the analogy that they gave, which I thought was quite a good one, was, when you're on an aeroplane and, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before putting it on other
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
And, you might say that's a little bit trite, but it's actually true. If you're in a position where you're supposed to be able to support other people, like I support the junior residents, then you need to be in decent shape yourself. I mean, we unfortunately had one of our junior residents pass away a couple of months ago from a sudden illness. She lived on her own. She got pneumonia. She got unwell, and then the next thing you know, she's found dead in her apartment.
Wow.
Yeah, and obviously that affected a lot of the other cohort of doctors that were around her level.
They really do have seasonal affective disorder in the UK. This got dark.
It'd get a
That's
little
why you
dark.
went for the facial, man.
A little escape.
No, but it is that time of year anyway. But anyway, yes. So I think a bit of self-care, whether that is going to the gym, having a facial, breaking your head on a flipping build of which is what I've been doing over the last
Building
couple of days.
PCs. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm envious. What are you building?
Okay, so
So far, a doorstop.
yeah, so far
mean-
nothing.
It's no, a doorstop is useful. So,
Well, I suppose a broken clock is right twice a day. So that kind of
exactly.
situation.
Exactly.
You just point to it when you know it's right. and
There's the
everything's cool.
optimism we were looking for.
There it is.
Yeah.
You gotta turn this bus around, baby.
So break it
So-
down. Break it down. What all have you put in it so far?
Okay, so the backstory is that my mum wanted a new computer. I thought maybe I should just upgrade the old computer that she's got, just whack in an SSD and that should probably be enough. And then I thought, nah, she deserves something a bit decent and I can get a good X Enterprise mini PC type of thing, which is what I got for about $180. And they gave me the 32 gig version, which I'm not going to complain. Lenovo ThinkCentre. And she's very happy with it because she doesn't do a huge amount on her computer. She doesn't need much from her. She doesn't have much computing needs, but she's happy with it. My sister's happy with it because my sister lives with my mom. And so it was like, okay, what do you do with the old one? And I was like, well, the whole point of computers is that you can upgrade and do this and do that. So I brought it around my house. And first thing I thought I'd do is... So first thing I did was I replaced the spinning Rust drive with a solid state drive, SSD.
Always good.
Yeah. I then wanted to... My son randomly had an old graphics card. I think one of his mates had changed his PC or whatever and had some extra parts. And he just gave it to my son. He's like, oh, do you want this graphics card? And he was like, okay. So he's just been lying upstairs. Anyway.
And this is for grandma?
No. So this is what the computer that was left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the old one. I brought it home and, I thought I'd tinker with it.
Oh, right.
Right. So
This
then,
has been going on for a while. You've brought this up before.
Well, it's been going on for 10 days. So yeah, 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, since
okay.
since
I
the
think it
last
was
time.
his intention the last time we talked.
I
but
see.
He's
Okay.
actually made movements.
So then I so then I put the SSD in and then I put the graphics card in. And after I did that, I tried to boot it up and it wouldn't boot up. You know, I wouldn't even get a BIOS screen or anything like that.
Power.
It would switch on, but that's it, right? So then I thought, well, you know, maybe it's the graphics card is too good for this motherboard or something, which is quite possible because it was a 2016 AMD something or the other. So
Was it?
why not
It was
get-
like a pre-built, right? Like a Dell or something.
No, so it was. So it was pre-built. Sorry, it was an Asus pre-built, but it was a full proper tower. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was an Asus one that we bought. I remember.
And the power supply
And-
output was adequate for that.
So yeah, this is. I'll get to this bit.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the power supply is a 240 volt one.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So anywho, I then decided that maybe if I'm going to be doing this up, I should put a better processor in it. So I then got an AMD Ryzen for like 50, 60 quid off Amazon.
Really getting ahead of yourself, huh?
Yes. And then so I then tried putting that in, and then I couldn't get the fan on top of it to sit, right? And then so I had to use the old fan, and then I put it in, and then it powered on, but again, nothing on the no output at all. I changed cables, this, that, and the other, still no output. And I thought, well, the BIOS is supposed to be on the motherboard, right? So it should at least go into the BIOS, but it didn't. I said nothing. Okay, what should I do next then? So at this point, somebody said, well, maybe you just need a better motherboard, you know, and not this, you know,
You're gonna
8-year-old.
end up with a whole new computer in the old case, huh?
Well, have you ever heard of the ship of Theseus?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
This is it. This is the ship of
Oh,
Theseus. Hey,
what-
this is your episode title, by the way. The computer of Theseus.
The Asus of Thesis. So
Yeah.
the thing that you're saying is that it is the same computer then.
Well, it evidently isn't. Anyway, I then
Oh,
did
so
get,
I see how you are on. So this is the answer to your question of, you know, is the ship of Thesis really the same ship after you change everything out? You say that it is not. the
No,
same
I say it's
ship.
not.
Okay, all right. I say that it
Okay.
is because
Okay.
its spirit lives on. You know,
Okay.
the hatred that you have for that computer still the same. Still the same.
Very much true. Very much true. And that kept on getting exponentially higher.
Yeah.
Because then it was a case of, I'm not even sure if this graphics card works. So maybe I should just try and, you know, get the output just from the CPU. But the CPU that I've got doesn't have an integrated graphics bit. So I'm like, shit, I better return that and get another. So then I returned that and got an AMD Ryzen which had an APU in it as well. So then I put that in. Again, I couldn't get the fan on it properly. So then I put the other fan on it. And then anyway, would turn on, still black screen. Okay, so new motherboard time. So ordered a new motherboard. Got the new motherboard. It's quite a nice one actually. It was a Gigabyte A520. I mean, it's not expensive, but it, you know, I suppose maybe I was so used to seeing that crappy one that seeing this nice new one was quite nice. So
Anything is an upgrade.
yeah. So then I plugged that in, and then I put the CPU in, and then I put the graphics card in. Actually, no, I hadn't put the graphics card in yet. I thought let's just make sure it turns on. Doesn't turn on.
No.
I must have not plugged something in properly. So, you know, to mess around with all the switches, mess around with all the plugs, this, that, and the
It's
other.
always the
Try it
CPU
again.
power.
So try it again. Now, online, it says that with the RAM that I've got in there and the... Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I had to swap out because the old motherboard only supported DDR3 RAM. And so I had to... That was another reason for having a new motherboard so I could put in some DDR4 RAM. Anyway, I then... But I checked on the internet, and apparently the CPU on its own and the SSD should only draw 130, and the power supply was 240. So at least it should switch on. There should be at least power going through the motherboard.
Maybe.
Right?
It depends on
Yeah.
how old that power supply is.
So yes, we're now at the situation where I'm now going to have to replace the power supply.
Yeah.
And I've already
At
sent him a
which-
link to one.
Yeah. At which point, I also realized, well, I had realized already because when I'd returned the other AMD Ryzen chip, that as Amazon is wont to do around Black Friday time, they have extended their returns period
Oh,
to,
beautiful.
to 3 months. Right? And so, if I want to return something, I just have to return it by the end of January. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to avail myself of this. So yes, now what I need is a new power supply. But I also think that the cables inside they're 8-year-old rubbish cables. So I reckon that's got something to do with it as well.
Power supply comes with all the cables you need to
Yeah.
go directly. and it's-
Unless you're trying to do that cool waterfall LED looking effect, man. Dude, some of
Nah.
the lights that they're coming with on these cables are kind of impressive, dude. I want some.
Yeah. So the thought did occur to me though that why am I trying to shoehorn the new guts of a PC into this old chassis when probably for not much
we
more I could go to Part Picker, PC Part Picker, which they do have one in the UK now, right? Which they didn't used to, and just put in a couple of things. And then it would give me an estimated build cost, and then I can just build that from brand new parts and new things, rather than kind of doing the ice cream tub thing of kind of scooping everything out and then putting something else in.
Yeah.
Just start off from scratch.
So this whole thing evolved from trying to make use of some old hardware,
And you just
Yes.
bought a new computer.
and basically what you did was build.
Yeah,
a whole-
basically, I was in effect buying a new computer,
Yeah.
and then I realized that if I'm going to buy a new computer, why not just buy a new computer,
Right.
rather than
and herein lies why I think it's still the same computer that you started with, even though every single part in it is new. The emotions and memories that came with the old computer are now transferred to this new computer. And every time you think about this new computer, you're going to remember the old stuff. The soul of the old computer is in the new
Well, I don't
computer.
think I don't think the soul exists anymore because I really wanted to go to town on it with a hammer because I was getting that annoyed with it. I
I'm
was
just
getting
saying.
that annoyed.
Every time you turn on the new PC, you're going to be like, damn, that was a journey, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was actually a slightly more existential reason for doing this. Actually, I was thinking because a lot of the time I'd ring friends and say, look, or I'd be chatting to you guys on Discord or whatever, saying, what do I do here, what do I do there, and someone asked the question, what games do you actually play that you're trying to achieve with
Bejeweled?
this with this gaming PC? And the answer to that is I don't actually play PC games. But that is not okay. As I've probably mentioned either on the show or on Mincast, I was obviously a geek when I was a kid, and I was always into, the Amstrad CPC was my first, and then the Amiga and all this. And then I had this kind of hiatus from the technology world when I discovered heavy metal and girls and went to university in medicine and all this. And numerous times since then, I have tried to get back into technology, and I've got back into technology. Evidently, I'm here on a podcast with you fine folks and Bill, and
Yeah.
but gaming I've never been able to get back into. We bought back in the day, we bought a PS4, and the PS4 was allegedly mine, but really it became my son's. And then I bought around the time of the COVID lockdown. What the hell am I going to do? Sat at home doing nothing. Let's order an Xbox. So I bought an Xbox and played that all of 3 times. And then mobile gaming, that's a great thing. Well, why don't I get some Bluetooth controllers and this, that, and the other? And I just couldn't get into it in the same way. And I came to the conclusion, maybe correctly or perhaps erroneously, that I just cannot manage controllers. And really, I need a keyboard and mouse if I want to play a game, because that is just the way that...
the Oculus, the MetaQuest, so you can just look around and just
So
be
I did.
the game.
So I did have a MetaQuest. I tried that as
Oh, okay.
well. Last Black Friday.
And you were out
I
here
bought-
Beat Sabering all over the place.
Yeah, so yeah,
Falling
and
flat
I
on
talked
his
about-
face.
Yeah, I'm sure I talked about it on this actually, and it was headache inducing,
Yeah.
is what I'll say.
So like
And-
motion sickness
and-
and stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing is that obviously Meta is not making money on the hardware; they're making money on all
No.
the other things you have to do.
And
So-
the data.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the data as well. So yes, when I bought it, it was only $200 because it was Black Friday sale. But then, want to buy any single game is £25. You want to do this, another £10. You want to do this, another £10. And that really annoys me when you get that kind of, upselling and the kind of, you can't progress unless you pay type of thing. And so I ended up returning that because, again, Black Friday, 3-month return, might as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this was why I thought, okay, if I just go back to the gaming PC like I used to have in my youth, well, the equivalent of, right, with a keyboard and a mouse and all this kind of stuff, maybe I will be able to lose myself in some games, like the way I used to, because everything else I have tried just hasn't worked. So it's ironic, really, because if I'm trying to build something on the expectation of something which I haven't really thought about yet, it's like, because I can imagine I'd do all this and then I'll be like, okay, now what do I play? Okay, now I need to find out what to play. And then it'd be like, well, I probably need a better monitor because what's the point having this powerful PC if you've just got a 60 hertz 720p monitor? Not that I've got that, but I mean, it's a little bit better than that.
I was gonna
60
make
hertz,
fun
which-
of you.
Yeah, it's a
all I
1080p one,
got.
but it's still 60 hertz.
Yeah.
I've got two 60 hertz 1080ps, which is what I've multi-monitor set up here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, seasonal affective disorder, right?
Yeah, right. I
Well-
mean, hey, listen, if it drives you to buy computer parts, at least we can talk about them on the show.
Yeah, and it's a learning process, and it's kind of fun too once you get that.
It is actually. I must say, actually, I mean, I'm complaining about it, but I have been enjoying it, and I've learned a lot because, as I probably mentioned as well, it's been a long time since I've done this, making building a PC.
Well,
and so it's been good. So it's been fun in that sense.
Now, I have an excuse to buy a bunch of computer parts here in the next month or so, because
Me
we're
too.
expecting a big load of tariffs to go into effect in the next year, which means that everything will go up from 10 to 50%, right? And I like RAM being at $60 for 32 gigs of stuff. So I need to, if I'm gonna do something in the near future, I need to do it within the next 45 days or so. So yeah, man, we might be talking about more of this hardware stuff going forward.
I'm building 3 of them, and this is one. Right
Yes,
here.
Bill, you tell us about your building journey.
Yeah, well, I haven't even booted it up yet, but this is
How?
one I'm.
How can you prevent yourself from just forgetting about
'Cause-
everything in the entire world and focusing on that?
So I got whiskey,
No, that's concentration juice. What do you mean?
and yeah, but no, I needed.
This is great radio, folks. Man
Yeah.
shows something on screen.
No, I know,
Right,
right?
yeah. So if anybody wants to see, but I will describe it here. I've got like 3 of these different types of gaming PC cases. These are not expensive, relatively. I think this one was $75, and it's full ATX.
Is that a Sama case?
It is Aura, AURA, and it's got one big fan in the back, and it's glass, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And then-
pretty sure that's extremely similar to one that I bought for about $40, and I think this is just one of those ones that you have Chinese manufacturers slapping 18 different names on it, but selling the same case.
Probably, yeah. But I mean,
That's the whole Chinese manufacturing industry in general, isn't it?
I
I don't know if this one has different color lights, LEDs for the fans, because I haven't booted it up yet.
Yeah, because you haven't turned it on. Come
But
on.
I've also got
So disappointed in both of you.
that's one, and then this
Yeah,
one.
that's what she said as well.
Not lately. Then I got this one. This one's bigger. This
Yeah, I was
one's
gonna
bigger.
say that one looks a little different, but also
Yeah,
similar.
that's what she said as well.
Ah, she
This-
I better
upgraded.
stop.
This is just some parts I've had laying around. I built.
That does look. Yeah.
This is the one I was talking about on Mintcast, where I couldn't get
Uh-huh.
it booted to a GPT partition. I had to put a master boot record on it to get it to boot because it's a 12-year-old motherboard.
Oh, got it.
It's
Okay.
an old ThinkCenter M92P,
Oh,
and maybe it was on this show. And I got an AMD card in there. You can't really see.
Oh yeah, I
Video
can see.
card.
Yeah.
That
So I mean, that's going to be about as old as
well,
this
it's
hunk
not
of
staying in
crap
there.
here that I've been working on.
It's not going to stay in there. This one that I showed you before is purpose built. I had so when we go down to the big truck shows, we like to have multiple camera angles, and one challenge I was having was getting more than one camera or more than two cameras on my laptop. And I've got a fairly decent HP Omen that I use for the truck shows. One USB host controller means you're really not going to be able to get more than two cameras effectively in OBS Studio.
Is that a bandwidth thing or more of a hard like?
Just an IO thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I thought, okay, well, I looked for a piece of hardware, and surprisingly, it doesn't really exist. A piece of hardware that you can plug all your cameras in and then switch back and forth like a proper, you know, panel, because we really don't need all of the cameras up on the screen at one time. If I've got a little device that'll switch back and forth. Well, they make these devices, but they're all for HDMI cameras
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, if it's USB, then there has to be some compute going on the hardware side to do the magic to turn your USB into actual video.
Right.
So all of the devices out there are HDMI. All right, what's my next option? Well, the next option is going to be to go full desktop with separate USB controllers. So I bought two of these. Now these are pretty extreme for PCIe cards. This one will actually do 30 gigabytes transfer speed.
Again, showing something on the screen.
Yeah, go check out the YouTube on this one, folks.
Yeah, on a podcast.
But I got two of these.
What are those, Bill?
This is a PCIe card. It's daughter board basically. Plug into your machine.
Oh, it is. It doesn't have the external like metal hook.
Yeah,
thing
it
that
does. You got to
back.
put it on yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a
Have
big
you
complaint in the comments section on Amazon. I had to put the thing on myself. Well, the thing about these, you see that the USB ports are sideways, and
Yeah.
you'll notice that when you put one of these into the slot on a PC, that if it isn't lined up just perfectly, that you won't be able to plug anything in, because I mean the clearance for plugging a USB whatever sideways into one of those slots on the back of a PC is next to nothing. So you want to get it in there, you want to get it seated, and then tighten down that plate to hold it in. That way, or plug a couple of USB cords into it.
So there's a good reason, not just we're trying to use less shipping packaging.
Yeah, well, that's probably got something to do with it too, because
have you ever looked into like USB-C type things? Because I hear the transfer speeds on that go up to like what, 40 gig or something.
You got to pay a pretty penny for the 40 gig, but 10 gig on the low end stuff, 20 gig on the medium range.
This
stuff.
one actually does have USB-C at the top.
Paid extra for this guy. This dude, I'm pretty sure will do 40 gig. It's just again showing something on screen.
Yeah.
This is a 40 gig Sabrent NVMe enclosure, all metal, man, and it's like this rainbow titanium. They do, you know, they blow on it just right, and it changes the color of the metal. Really, really cool. It's got LEDs. It like has like a transfer animation as it's doing stuff, which is actually kind of annoying.
So
I turn it upside
what
down.
do you use it for? What do you use that for?
USB things, like just flash drive stuff.
Drive.
I don't need the 40 gigs, but I was like,
thumb drive.
yeah. So for the same reason you built a whole ass new computer, I bought, you know, a really fast enclosure.
Well, see, I tried that route, and it's still bottlenecked at the I/O level on the laptop. So I thought, okay, the only way I'm going to pull this off comfortably.
So
we need to be able to do 5 cameras at one time is basically the goal. Well, now with 2 of these installed, because that motherboard can handle 3, it's got 3 X16 slots.
Yeah.
So one for the video card and then 2 of these, and then I can hook up something on the order of I think this thing will handle like 14 cameras.
Yeah. So I mean, the amount of things that you can plug into the South Bridge like that is very dependent on the actual machine, the actual motherboard, and what it can support. Which is why you add additional, essentially processing, to be able to do more
Exactly.
USB stuff. Yeah.
More controllers equals
That's
more
it.
ability to get it up and running. And I was in the beginning, I was just going to use that old motherboard that I bought. I bought for parts for one of these servers. One of these servers is a ThinkCenter M93P, which is like the i7 version of the M92P, which is an i5, but it's third gen, which means that running OBS Studio with multiple cameras on that Gen 3 with software encoding, which is what OBS will default to, you're pushing it about 65% on the CPU.
What OS are we going to use?
Well, with
He's
hardware
gonna say
encoding,
Windows.
with hardware encoding, that drops down to 25. So that's kind of nice. But hardware encoding is not a default for AMD cards. You have to do, like the flat pack of OBS Studio comes with a built-in FFmpeg VAPI plug-in encoder kind of thing, framework. But everybody seems to think that that's garbage. So they came out with this GStreamer plug-in, but you actually have to install that separately. But I'm using that right now, actually, because I was watching Glorious Egg Roll. He made a video on how to get that up and running. A slightly different process with the flat pack, but it's...
Oh, so you can do the hardware encoding using the flat pack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you
Okay,
got...
that's
And
cool.
I've got two methods now. You've got the FFmpeg version, which is really only good for 1080p 30, but that's all I've ever used anyway.
Yeah.
And it's worked fine, but he badmouthed it so much that I went ahead and tried the GStreamer thing. The GStreamer plugin makes it slightly more complicated, but you don't have to use any of those extra features. You can just change the bit rate and go with the defaults, and it seems to be working.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, it would be complaining. And right now, for example, I'm streaming and recording at the same time. I'm at 2.3% CPU.
Very cool.
It keeps the CPU open for other stuff. But
what is your GPU using? What's that cool one called? Mission Center? Looks
That's
like
exactly
the
what
Windows.
I'm opening.
Yeah, it looks like the Windows Task Manager or whatever. But dude, man, like I don't care what it looks like. If you're giving me the same kind of information that I can get off of a Windows box, man, give it to me. Give me.
I'm
I love
at
it.
16% utilization.
There you go.
Clock speed is 1.16 gigahertz out of 1.24.
So what you're saying is we should be having 4 or 5 bill angles right now on the stream, but we don't, and I consider that a failing.
Yeah,
do have
we're
two
all
cameras
we're all the
pointing at me.
poorer for it.
That's right.
But anyway, yeah. So which OS are you going to put on?
I probably meant. I mean, I need it to.
old tried
I
and
need
true.
when it comes to like the truck shows. Now, I had been using Arch, and I had some problems with the hardware encoding. Because,
You don't say. On Arch?
Bill,
well, the
do
problem
you
with
use Arch, Bill?
well,
I
on
don't
that
know this at all.
they really pushed the flat pack version of OBS Studio, but the problem with the flat pack on Arch,
The developers.
the developers. I mean, OBS is one of those projects that's officially supported on the flat pack side, and it's if you're wanting up to date, and if you need the browser plugin, that is the way to install it. You can also install it on Arch through the AUR, but it takes here comes an English turn of phrase, donkey's years to compile it.
I
don't know what it
I'm in
means.
the same country as you, Bill. What?
I don't know what it means.
Huh.
I didn't
It
think
means a
donkeys-
long time.
It
I didn't
really
know
is.
donkeys live a long time. Is that where that come from?
I don't know.
See, one of the things that we also say is that each state is its own country. Cause,
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Kind of is, but kind of ain't.
Yeah.
You know, like how they say about Britain, Churchill said about Britain and America, divided by a common language.
Yeah. Well, so are we within the
It seems.
states.
It seems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Words like
So,
fitna. I'm finna
Fair
go down to the
dinkum.
store. You want to go?
Oh, finna? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, so that word is I don't know if it comes from, but we have one very similar, and it's fixing to. We're
That's
fixing to go to the store, and I suppose that's where finna is coming from.
yeah.
But
I think it is. I
yeah,
think it
we
all
we
comes
still say all the letters in this one. It's fixing to. Yeah, we're
exactly.
fixing to go do. We're fixing to go eat. Yeah, that's
Do you want?
very much.
Do you want to hear an irrelevant fact?
Yes, I love these.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is the largest English-speaking country in the world?
China,
No.
South Africa.
India.
Yes. India.
Aha, yeah.
India has a population of 1.4 billion.
Insanity.
Yeah, of which at least half have some proficiency in English.
Yeah, I believe it. Wow.
Yeah, and almost exclusively the best higher education centers are all taught in English. In fact, the best schools are generally what they call the English medium schools. So so unfortunately, we're all going to have to get used to that accent that Bill does very badly, because this is his cue now. for saying,
Whatever.
what are you trying to say?
Oh, this is no good. You need to work on your Indian accent, my friend.
That was Irish. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Irish?
That was Calcutta via Dublin.
They don't. The Irish don't call each other my friend. They call each other gobshites and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm
more
not
closet
cultured
racism.
enough for this. You get from me. You get fixing to, and that's about it.
But
Yeah.
anyway, that was my irrelevant fact of the day.
Can't even say that we digressed there. We just completely went off the fucking rails.
No, no, we completed the Ouroboros.
Yes. Well, I mean, and that's why we love OTC.
No, to answer your question, to
There was a question.
expand
Yeah.
upon it, it probably will be meant, because the problem I was running into with Arch is that the development, the kernel development, and the driver development on the NVIDIA side was outrunning the Flatpak implementation that it needed in order to use. Because one good thing about using NVIDIA stuff, if you can get it up and running, is the built-in NVENC encoding, the
Yes.
hardware encoding that's built into NVIDIA.
I
And-
was gonna ask, if you're purpose building a video encoder, why didn't you just use NVIDIA? Like, I hate it,
I mean,
but
that card's got built-in NVIDIA graphics. I'm going to try that first, but if that
Yeah.
doesn't work, I've got 2 NVIDIA Quadro cards, and I'll try one of those just to get that sweet NVENC encoding,
Yeah.
and that's about the only reason, really. But I mean,
can't
honestly,
argue with that, man.
the
So
VA
this-
API works fine on the AMD side. I've not had any problems with it as long as you have it.
Fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are you wanting it to do? You're just offloading H2.
I want it to work
Yeah.
every time, all the time,
And it
as good
seems
as
like it
NVIDIA.
does. Well, I mean, you're asking quite a bit there.
No, and that's why in a build like that, I would just buy NVIDIA.
And
So
I would
actually,
I would hate
there's-
myself, but I would do it.
So I've just had a question that's not a question, but a thought that's gone into my head, which is, since I've been doing this whole build thing, and I've been, as I said, learning quite a bit, and enjoying it, admittedly, even if it's infuriating. I've always heard that installing Arch from scratch properly via the wiki is a very good learning experience.
Sort of.
Is that true?
You're muted, Bill.
yes and no, because you're still using a lot of scripts that are built into the installer to do a lot of the work of downloading the system and installing it, generating all the configs. That's all still done for you. Mostly what you're learning is the whole concept of the partitioning and making sure you've got the right locales set up and things. You understand what all of that means when it's over and done with. What you don't get that you would get on the Gentoo side is setting up your own fstab file system table, telling it exactly where you want things. Yeah, that's what I call it, fstab. So Arch probably gets you, I would say, a quarter of the way there. Would that be accurate, Leo? You think? Or
Yeah. I mean, with both of those systems, I think the question asker has to look inward for the answer to that question, because if you're going to the Arch Wiki to just follow the steps and not read anything about anything, you're going to learn zero. It's nothing,
well,
absolutely nothing.
that's interesting, because there's the install guide on the Arch Wiki, which is, it still kind of requires you to understand what it is it's telling you to do to some
Yeah.
degree. There used to be a beginner's guide on there. It's not there anymore, but it just literally gave you each step and exactly just copy and paste into the terminal,
Yeah.
do this.
Well, blogs have done that much better, because people are like,
Yeah.
well, I want this exact way to do Arch and I don't want to think about it. And I'm like, bro, you just want Endeavor. Just stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really depends on your attitude going into the thing, man. Do you actually care if you're using Grub or System Deboot? Then yeah, you're actually going to learn a little bit about how those two bootloaders work.
Oh, yeah. That's another
But
thing.
if you're just copying and pasting the recommended path in the Arch Wiki, then no, you're not going to learn much of anything other than the name of the thing that you're installing, if you actually read the command you're running. So it's very much an attitude thing. It's very much a how you look at the process kind of thing. But I would say, if you're going into it with this open-minded kind of, I'm gonna dig into everything that I'm doing, I'm gonna understand every command that I'm passing through the command line interface as I do it, then you're gonna learn quite a bit, just by virtue of peeling that back and like, what does this command actually do? What is it actually doing? And you'll learn a whole lot of process and what's going on behind the curtains. So it depends.
That all being
it's always
said,
the answer. It depends.
that all being said, I have stopped effectively doing that ever since they came out with Arch install, because that's
So what do you do in Arch install that Endeavor doesn't do for you?
nothing. I mean, Endeavor is what we're used to.
Just
Endeavor
rock the
gives
sailboat, baby. Just
it
rock
gives
the
you some of the
sailboat.
simplicity. Part of the, I mean, you still end up with a tiny bit of Endeavor's opinionated process when you start up your machine. It's not a completely vanilla process, or
Yeah, because they've got a few scripts that actually make that. See, what's funny about Endeavor is that I think most of the people that set up Arch end up with Endeavor without the sailboat. They end up going to get a lot of the tools that Endeavor has built in already for you, like these the scripts that go out and update your mirrors and stuff like that to the best, bad, whatever. All this, those. You can do that manually, or you can let scripts like the one Endeavor has kind of really handle that for you in an automatic kind of way. And I think a lot of people end up with that kind of situation anyway.
All the benefit of Arch, except you can get it up and running a lot more smoothly.
And it tends to break a whole lot less, because that exact configuration is tested by thousands, as opposed to your singular solution that you thought was right at the time being tested by you. So, if you have issues, there's a whole lot more you got to peel back before you really understand what's actually going wrong. Or you can do what most of the people that run Arch do and get the answer from a smarter guy than them on the Arch forum, go implement that thing and be like, oh, wow, that worked, thanks, and then never...
Leave your sensitivity at the door, though.
Oh, well,
then,
I mean...
But then, the thing about that is, what then therefore is the point? Why not just run any other Arch-based distro? Why? Do you see what I mean? It's like if so my experience when I used Endeavor, because I remember we talked about this and you even did a quite helpful guide, Bill.
Yeah.
Was that I really didn't understand what was going on, and so although I did manage to finally get it working with Bill's help, I then realized that, even little things like updating software and stuff like that, I was putting in commands and stuff and copying and pasting stuff I didn't know. So there was I wasn't gaining anything from it, right? Now, if the point is, well, why bother having why bother doing all this legwork? But when you're installing Arch, just have a rough and ready distro that's already ready that you can just plunk on something. Then why not just use Mint or something else? You know what? I'm just trying to see what would be the use case then for
I got you here.
someone. Yeah, what would be the use case for someone who wants Arch, but at the same time wants the plug and play kind of ability of one of the more established distros or noob friendly distros.
I think a big appeal of Arch is the Arch repository itself, not the user repository, but the community baked built repositories for software. I mean,
Huge.
these things are the newest by a day or two that you could pretty much get anywhere. Fedora. Now, here's the thing about that, though, is that I think a lot of those people would also be satisfied by something like a Fedora, because Fedora is quite honestly very new when it comes to things. So, but I think that's a big part of it, right? But like the Arch community repository also has stuff like Discord in it. So,
Oh, that's actually in community, actually.
Oh, that's
Discord
what, the community repository, right? Like that's in Discord, not the AUR. I don't like the AUR, so I very rarely talk about it.
Right.
But that is another sticking point for people that want to use Arch. They like broken software, so they like the AUR.
Discord was one of those, because Discord is updated rather frequently, and it is one of those things that will refuse to run if it's not up to date. And it's why it's the Flatpak for me has kind of been the better route, just because you will. I mean, Arch is not like other distros where you get a large list of updates once a week or what have you.
Oh,
Arch,
they trickle in all the
it
time.
trickles in all day long. You could run Pac-Man SYU.
I think that's it. I think Arch is mostly for the people that have a compulsion to actually write Pac-Man SYU, like multiple times a
Well,
day.
if you're following the development cycle of a piece of software, for example, Arch is going to be
these people are just putting in the command.
Yeah, well.
Oh, look, new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but that does exist, and Arch serves those people really well.
Sure does.
I mean,
that was not shade at all. That was not shade at all. That was that.
But what kind of packages would you want that were being updated that frequently?
The newest.
No, but
no, that's it.
Type?
That's the answer to the newest. The answer to your question is the newest.
If you've got a piece of software that's getting developed rather aggressively, like KDE Plasma or something like that, and you're just excited about new features all the time because you're subscribing to podcasts and you're hearing about these new things that people are getting.
That's a good
you
way
want
to
it
do
now. Arch is the way to go, because you're going to get it as soon as, especially if you enable the testing repository, which is kind of insane. I don't recommend doing that unless you want to be part of that bug process, because it, like Audacity, I would sometimes watch the Audacity thing, for reasons that we've spoke about before.
All roads lead to Audacity, don't they?
Well, Audacity
he
is
just
one
likes
of those,
the pain.
It's one of those things where somebody like me, I was following the development cycle of Audacity because there was real problems that needed fixing, and so
I'm on 3.3.3.
Yeah.
Nope.
Audacity is a piece of software where either you stick to, but in this case, the version that was in the Arch repo, the official version, was a broken version for most people. You would be in the middle of using it and the whole screen would just turn white. And that was your officially installed from the community repo, which community in this case just means Arch has got this way of doing things where they've got a group of people called trusted users or trusted something, and they're community members, and their whole job is they're assigned software or they volunteer to watch a piece of software, and then they are the ones that get it built and get it uploaded to the community repository. The AUR has got this system where packages go through a voting process where if it gets enough votes, it gets graduated. Somebody will take it on and keep the build up to date, and it'll get graduated to community. if it's popular enough. That's just the cycle of software in Arch. Um, but that was one use case where it was a broken piece of software. Yeah, okay, Arch. And I'm watching the development cycle, and I'm watching it go through the testing repository, because even if you're not even if you don't have it installed on your system, you can watch the packages go through the testing repository. And I think it took 2 days for them to. I don't know what testing process they went through, but that's about normal for a package. So yeah, watching it, but I imagine it's just, for the most part, people just like knowing that they're getting the latest greatest thing. I don't know beyond that.
Okay. Okay. On a different note, since we're talking about audio editing, I actually had
You're doing it.
a
You're
friend
the
of
one
mine
that's
who
doing it.
contact me today. Yeah, contacted me today about video editing, and I don't think he's ever done video editing before. And I think he wants to make little videos for YouTube. I think he didn't say, but I do know that he is quite. He's been quite strident on the whole Israel-Palestine issue. Let me put it that way. He's been on quite a few demonstrations and all this kind of stuff, to try and stop the genocide happening on our television screens. Anyway, so I think he wanted to make a couple of videos of some of the protests. I don't know exactly. He didn't say, but I'm guessing that. Anyway, so he wanted to know which video editor, open source video editor, he should use if he as a complete noob. What do you guys reckon?
Vidimux.
Nah. Caden Live.
Caden Live is
See,
probably
so I was thinking Caden Live, but then I thought, is that too complicated?
I mean, if you're just trying to do simple cuts, no, I don't think so. I mean, hit the X key, drag your video onto the thing, cut the pieces, delete the ones you don't want, click the render button. That's literally
Vidimux
all
will
you
do
gotta
that and a heck of a lot faster. But you got to use a flat pack or something. You
But
need something
then when you're in a Vidimux, you're like, man, I wish I could do this. Man, I wish I could do this. Man, I wish I could do this. And you can piecemeal that in because Caden Live usually already supports what it is that you're trying to do. Yeah. And at that point, once you're like, ooh, I wish Caden Live could do this. I wish Caden Live could do this. You're into proprietary software. So
DaVinci Resolve is probably the best thing.
It seems like it.
But you need what do you need to get that up?
You need NVIDIA stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they've got, isn't it on Android now, DaVinci? LumaFusion's on Android, sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think you're talking about CapCut.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know. If you want it super simple, that's CapCut, I guess.
Yeah.
And that can be done.
And I did suggest him that actually when it comes to mobile.
Yeah.
But I think he was looking at, a desktop thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I said I thought Caden Live as well, but my experience with video editing is not as much as maybe you guys is.
Yeah, I mean, I just take a little bit of pain on the front end so you can have a whole lot more option once you start diving actually into it, instead of learning a super simple thing and then being like, I wish, and then having to learn it anyway.
Yeah, and I would say, well, first off, I would recommend the flat pack if you're on a GTK desktop of any kind.
Sure.
Get the flat pack. It works great. But then there's so many boot camp tutorials out there on YouTube on how to use Caden Live. It's actually pretty well covered. Mm-hmm. And there's some people have even made playlists of, going through the different processes and things that Caden Live can do. And they'll start with the basic stuff, just a little bit of the tip and tail, and then recoding it into something that is compatible to whatever it is you're going to upload it to, or whatever kind of device that you're going to want to watch it on. Caden Live, I think, I'm going to agree with Leo, is probably the most exhaustive option that's available to us right now without getting really, really professional. So, but yeah, I mean, I use it. I've got all this stuff. I've got the Shotcut and OpenShot as well, and they're okay. I use the Vidimux most of the time just because all I need to do is chop off the beginning and the end, and then it's got filters for the audio that you can run it through a compressor, and then normalizer and do a little filter curve filtering, and then it takes seconds to render. And that's the thing about Caden Live. Caden Live can sometimes take 10, 15, 20 minutes
Well,
to
it renders
render.
a whole new video.
Yeah, basically. Whereas, a Vitamux basically will just demux the stream and then change the audio or cut the stuff off you don't want and then mux it back together.
So is that what you use, Leo, for Linux user space, Kden Live?
Yes.
That's probably the best piece of software I think that we've got available to us.
Support Caden Live, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's available on Windows, and is it available on the Mac too?
Yes.
Yeah, it is on the Mac,
and it supports M1 and the whole 9, everything.
Yeah, your available options for the end render is enormous. All the different formats that it can do. And it can be as simple or complicated as you want it, But like I said, check out YouTube for boot camps and tutorials on how to use it. That's how I learned Reaper. I spent a lot of time learning Reaper, but then when the Audacity team pulled their finger out, I just started using that again. It is what it is. So, but yeah, is your friend on Linux?
I'm not. I don't know. That I'm not sure is the short answer to that question. Not sure.
Well, then another tally for Caden Live, because it doesn't matter what platform he's on.
It doesn't, and I think you can get it from the Windows Store. If I'm not mistaken,
I grabbed the binary myself, but
yeah, you can go to the website and
and get the exe, yeah,
which is the free way. I think the store is charging a few bucks, which I mean, come on, that's a rather complicated, huge piece of software. People need to get paid for the work they do, so.
Yep.
And it's probably not a lot of money. It's probably less than $10 or whatever the equivalent in the UK is.
£8.99 probably.
Well, there you go.
Plus
let's have
that.
a look. Oh no, our VAT's already included. This is what I found weird when I came to America, that the price you see is not the price you pay because the taxes are added at the till.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's used as a weapon against us. It makes it look cheaper than it really is. It's like charging $2.99 for something instead of $3.
Yeah.
Somehow or another. We know better, but the part of our brain that wants the thing is not. They just see the two and then.
Yeah. Well, there's a huge psychology around pricing.
Oh gosh,
all this, isn't there? Yeah.
The cereal aisle in American stores. If you walk down the cereal aisle, the boxes that have cartoon characters.
Oh yeah.
They're looking you directly in the eye, and they'll put the children's stuff down on the lower shelves,
one rung lower, because that's where the kid is sitting in the basket to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. They've got I don't know how many years of experience keeping track
by this point.
Because it is a whole field of endeavor figuring out what
endeavor.
Hey, boom boom.
Except this endeavor is ENDEA or however you spell it. I don't know.
The non-UK way?
Yeah. It's endeavor, not endeavour.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
Well, yeah, it's wrong rather than right. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of like
random use.
Aluminium.
Yeah, you add a whole nother syllable to that word. That's great. Yeah, moving on. But then again, you take it out of Worcestershire sauce, so.
Oh God.
I mean, yes. I mean, there are a couple really bad ones. Leicester is one I don't understand. How is Leicester becomes Leicester?
Nobody could say that shit.
Yeah. Well, they probably could back in the old day. Have you, on a complete random thing, have you ever seen, there's this YouTube video of, similarity between English and Dutch and German, and how there are certain sentences you could say in Dutch which would still work perfectly well in English. And I'll probably share it on one of our Discord things. But the funny thing was, I sent that to a friend of mine who's into languages, and he goes, "Yeah, so basically German is what English was 1,000 years ago, and Dutch is what English is said in a drunk accent."
Yeah.
There is some truth to that. I mean, because archaic English from 1,000 years ago would be unrecognizable to most people
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I think the closest thing we have to it in the world is the Icelandic language, which that's you read those words and you can't imagine how anybody
Yeah,
can say them. You know?
yeah,
But
yeah.
the evolution of language is kind of interesting, I think.
Oh, it's amazing. There's a couple of YouTube channels on languages, Lang Focus, and a couple of others that I watch. I really enjoy that kind of thing. I wish I could speak more languages. It would
I
be, you know.
just
I have a
that's why
friend who is on. I have a friend who's on his seventh language at the minute. It's
Wow.
like, I know.
Does he speak them all the time?
Well, he can have conversations with them in them.
Wow.
You know, I'm not going to say he's going to be eloquent and, you know, doing a parliamentary address.
Yeah.
You know, but he can, you know, he can converse with people.
That's
And
cool.
then there's another friend of mine who was learning Mandarin because apart from the fact that the Chinese are going to take over, he was like, I wanted the challenge
Oh,
of
yeah.
something completely different and
Yeah.
something really hard. And he was like, okay. So, yeah, that's a language I can't get my head around either. I can't get my head around quite a lot of stuff, actually. Maybe that should be the name of the podcast. Majid can't get his head around quite a lot of things,
Yeah.
especially the Asus of Theseus.
Yeah.
I am so envious of people that speak multiple languages because, you know, in the United States, a lot of the Hispanic people, they they take a rap for maybe not so much anymore, but it used to be the kind of thing was, you know, they're not
Depends on
real,
where you are.
yeah, not well educated, not real smart, but yet this is a group of people that speak enough English in addition to their native language. They speak enough English to get by with you. They really do. And none of us can do that with them. So,
Right.
in my opinion, that sets them a bit higher. And they didn't have the benefit of learning it in school either. They just picked it up some other
But
way.
then I often find that people who pick up languages organically, they normally do it better, at least on a communication level,
Yeah.
than people who are taught it, you know, didactically, you know, at school or something like that.
Well, you're worried
You
about
know,
rules when you learn it in school.
Yeah,
You're
you know,
worried too much
yeah,
about the structure and the meter and the everything
yeah,
else.
so,
But
yeah.
when you
So
learn it
what I find,
organically,
yeah, what I find is people who learn it organically can communicate. People who learn it, you know, inverted commas properly
Can write a poem.
can read and write, but can't necessarily hold a conversation.
yeah.
And
You
sometimes
know,
it's hard to even know that English is their second language because they as you said, they learned it organically. They might have never learned an accent. Their accent was never really applied to it.
Yeah. I know quite a few people that you would not be able to tell, but they can flip it like a switch.
And that's amazing to me because of the grammar, the differences in grammar from English to almost everything else is huge.
it's called code switching. It's something that second
Well,
generation immigrants are very good at.
That's a slightly different thing. But yes, like if you have telephone voice, you code switch, even though you don't need, you know, more than one language to do so, right?
Yeah. I code switch when I speak to my mom.
Yeah,
Half
exactly,
half
right?
of it's English, and then half of it's back in Urdu again, and then it goes back into English, and
Right.
it goes back into, you know. And so this is why, you know, people will often say, "Oh, well, we know exactly what you were talking about because there was just enough English in there for us to figure it out."
Right, right.
Yeah,
know.
my ex mother-in-law, she grew up a migrant worker family, and she was born in McAllen, Texas, and she used to call the language where they do just that. They mix some
Spanglish.
English, Spanglish. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind
That's
of
what
an
we speak here.
amalgamation of
I mean,
English.
you hear it all the time, and it is, yeah, you'll hear English, you'll hear Spanish, and it'll swap back and forth all the time. You can even, it's so pervasive down here, it's on the radio. Like,
Just
on
a lot
the
of
radio.
nouns. But the biggest thing I've noticed is the nouns. A lot of nouns are said in English, just because of the Spanish word for it. I don't know. I'm not real sure.
well,
how-
I think it's, I think a lot of it is because they know their audience is bilingual. And even if they're not bilingual, they know the English word for this thing. And, you know, saying it with a heavy Spanish accent would make it unintelligible, right? Like to most people that would know the word. So you just swap it. You just throw the English word in there. And what's funny about a lot of the radio personalities is they say it with perfect, like a perfect, what you would expect around here accent in English. It's funny. I love it. It's actually one of my favorite things. I love it when I hear it.
Cool and colorful. Well, that's an hour, kids. That's over an hour. Get a hold of us. Email show@linuxotc.org. Hit us up on Mastodon. There's links to all this stuff in the show's description. You know, one thing we never do is go through how do we get a hold of you guys. So, Majid, we'll start with you. How do we get a hold of you?
Okay, so you can email me at my Mincast address, drmajid@mincast.org. I've got the Atypical Doctor podcast. I'm Atypical Doctor on Mastodon and Threads. Yeah, that's mainly the
Yeah, go through the Mintcast spiel.
Yeah, why not?
That's the easiest way to answer that question.
It's atypical, not atypical. I just thought you were a typical doctor. The old run of the mill.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, no, it was the dual meaning that I liked about that.
Yeah. And me, you can find me on Mastodon, Leo Chavez at mastodon.social. I'm also on Blue Sky. So,
Ooh, I'm gonna go on Blue Sky now. Actually,
it's kind of nice over there, man.
So you can get me on Atypical Doctor and Blue Sky as well now.
Not if I get the account first.
Oh, he's gonna scalp
Only
you.
$100. Only $100. That's a steal, dude.
Yeah,
We call that
If you have
nerd scalping.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about Blue Sky is similarly to Mastodon, right? Like you can have your own handle. You can make it whatever you want to as long as you own the domain. So, like you could have, if you had typicaldoctor.com, you could have a.typicaldoctor.com as your handle, or just typicaldoctor.com or atypicaldoctor.com. Whatever. If you have a domain, you can make that your
You
handle.
can do that on TikTok too.
Yeah. Oh, can you really?
Yeah. Yeah, because you've got this delineation between the nickname and the username, so you can change the username once a month, but I think you can change the nickname, the thing that shows up in bold. You can change that literally at will.
Oh, okay, but that's like Twitter, right? Where you have a handle and then you have the pretty name, essentially. No, this is an entire protocol built on the fact that it's underpinned by DNS, as in the oldest protocol in the world. The AT protocol leverages DNS to make sure that your username is unique. Your actual handle is unique. And the coolest thing about that is that no one would ever be able to handle squat you. No one would ever, because you own the domain name.
Gotcha.
So you actually control it. It is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Well, you can email me. I'll go ahead and use my Mintcast stuff. Why not?
Boo.
Bill@mintcast.org. I'm Bill_H on Discord. I'm trying to do this from memory. I'm at WCHauser3 at fostodon.org on Mastodon. I almost said you can check out my other two shows, Linux OTC and Three Fat Truckers. Links to both of those in the show notes. But they have no show notes here. You just got to wing it because we're ninjas like that. Anyway, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, I've been Bill.
I've been Majid.
And I'm still Leo.
Oh, the intrepidation. See you, folks.